Welcome back to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. This is an AEW overview, pretty much for the weekend, which will be coming at you each and every weekend. Wrestling shows we have to take into consideration. So part of it is to welcome our new AEW correspondent. He's over the pond and far away in America himself, but I couldn't think of anyone better than the co-founder, or the founder of the FTR Follow the Revolution Facebook page, Twitter page, probably Instagram page, an all-round AEW genius, Mr. Gary Joe. How are you, my friend?
Sir Adam, I am doing fantastic. I'm very excited to do this every single Sunday. Guys, please, please, please click this follow button. Click the like button for Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast because they're making noise, they're making the waves, and knowing that I'm part of this every single Sunday, no better way enjoying to talk about the company that I love. And I'm so sorry about the lighting, guys. Unfortunately, my little ring light, it broke the other day, but next time you will see me actually in the light. So
That's fine. It's not a problem at all. It's always good to have you on. And again, each and every weekend, again, wrestling shows permitted and schedules permitting, we will be talking AEW with your good self. Can't think of anyone better to do it with. I just want to start with some sort of news that has kind of broken in the last hour. I don't know, you may have covered it. And again, we will say it is rumors. And I hate that, we don't, in terms of rumors, we take them with, I haven't got any salt on my table, but we take them with a pinch of salt. But following on from Miro apparently requesting a release last week, it's now apparent that Ricky Starks has done the same thing. Now we know Ricky hasn't been around. We know we don't know what's gone on, and it's none of our business what goes on backstage, and whatever happens. Is it kind of inevitable though, Gary, that we're expecting him to exit the company either now or when the contract expires, which I believe is March time?
I mean, I can see, the point of view with Ricky Starks. He's not being used, and I want him to be used. But if he's not going to really be highlighted into a position, like I can understand his point with that. I don't like. It would be very saddened for me because obviously I'm a Starks fan for sure. But you know what? That doesn't mean that his career's over. It's just he wants to go somewhere else, and that will put the appreciation on him. It's not like Tony hasn't, in my opinion. I think Tony's been good with Ricky. He brought him in to really highlight his career during the pandemic, and then he won of course, the Bret Hart. The Owen Hart tournament. Um, Ricky did that. FTW champion, tag team champion. Um, I like you said, man. I'm just with you with the rumor thing. I mean, it depends who reports it, but Thunder Rosa said something the other day that really made sense. Stop believing what we read and hear, and as content creators such as you and I, Adam, like we like to bring a conversation starter to the people that support us. So we understand that. So
Yeah.
that being said, is it going to be granted? Just like Miro, I'm not Tony. I think Tony knows that WWE is making some big waves as well. At the same time, with AEW potentially getting that big deal, great, they're going to make waves as well. And man, I really wish I had more of an uplifting answer to that. But whatever happens with Ricky, whether that's still continuing a run in AEW or going to maybe the road's back with NWA, but we already know where he would like to go and who wouldn't want to work with his best friend.
Yeah. Exactly. Look, whatever happens. We wish obviously Ricky well, whatever he does. My personal opinion, and I'll be quite honest, I've said this from the word go. With wrestlers, like, you get ones that fit well, fit better. There's some WWE guys that come in that fit better in AEW, and there's some that fits better in WWE. My personal feeling on this is, I think, and this is not to his detriment because he's got a lot of charisma, he's got a great look. I don't think he fits the mold of somebody and I could be wrong, or we could be sitting here in a year's time and I could be eating my words, and I will be the first to openly admit that. I don't see him doing anything more in the WWE right now than what Ethan Page has been doing on NXT. He's won the World NXT Championship, and there's no doubt about that. But in terms of just like, I know he's Cody's friend, and I get all that. I just think he suits the way AEW work, presentation, character, ring work would work better for him to actually just knuckle down where he is now and try and, you may have to start back from the bottom or whatever, but I think that's just his best fit is AEW.
I mean, if I can be honest, I'm not just saying this because this is our conversation today about AEW. I very much agree with that because I always say when people come into the comments and post so much weird remarks about this person should go to WWE, that person needs to go over there, just, a boatload of things. Not everybody needs to go to WWE for the all end. Like pretty much you don't need to go into the doors of WWE just for great, now your career has succeeded. Which, hey, I get it. They're the big dog of the fight. They are, the mainstream big, organization they hope to step in there someday. But just like with MJF, I really thought for a while too, MJF was really going to leave. And I mean, he played us really, really well, and I do admit that. But I think MJF realized, just like you brought up, Adam, not everybody, needs to swoon over there just because you have to. You need to think about their roster size too. Like, I'm not saying Triple H has favorites. I'm not saying Tony Khan has favorites. I'm not saying this organization owner has his favorites. But man, it's funny that you're saying the comparison with Ricky Starks with Ethan Page, because I do agree with that. He's just going to be a mid card guy, and Tony would probably put not Tony, but Triple H put maybe the North American title on him instead of whoever, or if he goes onto the main roster, he'll probably win the IC title just to stick it right to Tony. I've noticed that trend a little bit with WWE's booking with the former WWE talents, AEW talents.
Definitely so.
But I guess we will see what happens.
We will indeed, and it's one of those things that it will always come about, and there'll be people jumping left, right, and center, which is the beauty of having companies. I think that's the important thing. Like, for so long, since 2001 or two, whenever it was, when WCW folded, we had the time with TNA in there briefly, and again, that's now coming, back up, and that's not just to do with the WWE stuff. That's to do with their hard work and grit that they've done themselves, getting themselves out of the mire and bringing themselves up to the top there. But I just want to switch gears a second and talk about, you mentioned MJF, and he's now looking like he's going to be in a film, Happy Gilmore 2, I believe he's been cast for. But the point being with this, and why I'm making a big deal out of this, is to actually, when we get on with all of this sort of leaving and coming, and people are like, oh, they want to go to WWE because they want to be superstars and movie stars. But it's showing you right now that you can do that in AEW, and you can point to the like of MJF now. I think he was in the Iron Claw as well. But it's seeming like you can fulfill those aspirations at AEW. So if you do have a need to want to make movies and be a star in Hollywood, you can do that in AEW.
And that's exactly it. And that's one thing that I absolutely love about, Tony and AEW is they let their talents go out there and explore their horizons. And, they can go into another promotion, just because, I want to take a couple weeks to be on the indie circuit because, I want to do something a little different. And that's what Tony does. And I think that's an amazing thing. And I'm sorry, but that's one thing that kind of turns me away from WWE is because, when you want talents to be happy, doing something that they have never done before, like being a cast member of Happy Gilmore 2. That's really cool. And kudos for Tony allowing that, just because that gives AEW really good exposure in some way, because I've been an Adam Sandler fan since Billy Madison in '93. So knowing that he's going to be part of a Adam Sandler movie is a huge deal, not only for MJF, but that's going to be on Netflix. Interesting enough. So it's really cool, and I like the fact that the talents feel happy when they don't feel like they're in shackles a little bit.
Yeah.
So I know that's probably not the best term, but I mean,
Exactly.
you
Exactly.
know,
And you got a good point, because before we get on to before we actually get into the AEW review, I've just read that Wrestle Pro yesterday. You mentioned just now about how them wanting to go and do indie shows and working with indie talents. And funnily enough, there is Wrestle Pro have announced that there was two new champions made yesterday. One being I think it was Lady Frost become the first two-time women's champion. She defeated Elena Cross and Serena Deeb at the event, and possibly and I've loved this tag team since I've watched them in the NWA. I used to watch them weekly on Power, and obviously they've gone to AEW. They made a name for themselves. I knew you put a big thing out there that you wanted them to have the shot at the Young Bucks. The Outrunners, they beat Devastation Inc. to become the Wrestle Pro Tag Team Champions. It's just things you love to see.
oh, dude, I totally agree. Like when I saw that, I was like, excuse me, thank you. This is the great thing. Like, so you want to talk about, the parting ways with AEW and everything. What are they going to do for the next man up? What are they going to do with the next person that's going to shine? Well, guess what? When you are losing a very unfortunate team that we all know who's going to be eventually going to WWE, you have to really highlight somebody out there to really, really bring them in to make sure everything's fine. That's what the Outrunners do for me. The fact that they are, the tag team champions in their rookie year, I think, I mean, in their world, because they are the youngest men alive.
Yes.
It is so cool to see, man. Truth Magnum and Turbo Floyd, they have it all, honestly. Like their personality. If I can be honest, I never knew who they were until, oh my gosh, I want to say it was Cruising with Kayfabe. They were posting something about it, and I was like, okay. And obviously, I acknowledge them quite a bit.
Yes.
I'm really good friends with the guy that runs it. Anyway, and I was like, man, I want to see a little bit more of these people. And all of a sudden, they were showing video packages, and I was like, listen, I'm an 80s guy.
Yeah.
So the fact that when I see something like that, I'm like, that is just so cool. They're very appealing. So yeah, I couldn't be any more happy for these guys.
Yeah.
And the fact that they react to many of my posts on Twitter makes it bittersweet too.
Yeah, it is. It's great to see. And yeah, you mentioned that. Cruising with Kayfabe. Go and check them out as well, guys. CWK podcast on X, I believe. Cruising with Kayfabe on Instagram. Go and check them out. They're doing a great job as well. Now, we've had a bit of talk about AEW. Let's get into it now. Fine. Now, I've done my Dynamite review this past week, but I still want to talk to you about it. It was Grand Slam week on Dynamite. Well, of course, across the AEW's programming was Grand Slam week. Dynamite, I thought, was absolutely brilliant. I thought it was really, really good. Near enough top to bottom. There was a couple little bits where I was like, yeah, maybe, but in all, I mean, you had matches had sort of a bit of everything. And one thing I've said, and I've kind of said it since the back end of 2023 into this year, and I know you guys have picked up on it as well, is the storyline elements now that are being worked. And it wasn't that they didn't have a storyline element to begin with, but if you now go back and you look at long-term booking and stuff like that, and you look at Hangman and Swerve and how they sort of ended and they had that break and then they come back with a vengeance. You had MJF as the champion at one point, then you had the devil kicking off, and then you had this guy wanting him, that guy wanting him, and this guy wanting him. So you had a lot of people around wanting him with that. And then you kind of had the same thing with Danielson. when Danielson was like, I'm going to retire, and now you did have Darby Allin, who obviously lost his shot to have him, but you had Christian Cage wanting a bit of it as well because he won the Casino Battle Royale all in. And you kind of like say, well, you've got matches there, and there. And it's all about bringing every little thing together. And I think since the back end of 2023, I've noticed it a lot more this year. There has been a huge emphasis on that. And I thought Dynamite this week, top to bottom, was pretty much solid. I couldn't really have much to not to say dislike, but I didn't have much I could offer in terms of a critique.
It's funny that you say that, Adam, because I always say the people that always become strange with their opinions and what story is this? There's nothing there. Everything has a story. The fact that we're sure going to be bringing this up, but like Brian Danielson and Nigel, for example, this is one thing that I love about TK is he really brings that nostalgia back, and it's really really cool. Like almost one day away, like 15 years from the date was the last time we seen Nigel in the ring against Brian, and it was a really cool thing. And let me tell you, if it wasn't for the amazing UK fans over there, Adam, like it just when I seen that announcement happen with Nigel and Brian, like I have so many followers from the UK, and the fact that you guys were so jazzed and so excited for it, it made me so excited for that AEW fan all across the world. So it their stories are really there, and there's still currently one going on right now that is really intriguing my eye, and that's with Mariah May. Just saying.
It's great. It is great. I mean, there is a lot going on, and there is a lot going on in AEW, and perhaps more than what people even can even see with you. Sometimes they just look at it and they don't, necessarily understand it, or they can't see it. But there's so much going on right now. I mean, obviously you got a loaded roster, and there is that thing as well. I think I read, and I think it may have been even the guys at Wrestling Observer that was saying that, like, they've got so much talent on this roster, because I think there's a lot of it why, oh, you're giving this a match away from free, that a match away from free, and all this sort of stuff. And it's like, well, what, you can't save his matches for pay-per-view, because you look at the roster of names in AEW and you're pulling off like let's have Will Ospreay, Roderick Strong, and you're like, wow, this is going to be awesome. And then you've got someone going, well, why is this on free TV? Well, it's either that or he takes on Jay White or MJF, and you can't. People just don't understand. I think sometimes that you're getting these matches for free because there is this roster of amazing wrestlers on AEW that if you didn't get that match for free, you might not be getting. You wouldn't be able to put on any matches.
That is so true, man. Because when you see this roster, like these names, like it's just wow. I mean, we're getting Ricochet and Will Ospreay this coming Wednesday. Jack that in my veins. Why won't you? So, when they're giving these free pay-per-view matches on TV, you know what? You're going to make a good impression every single week because of the flack that Tony gets from people. But, people are okay to voice their opinions. And let me tell you, their opinions are quite something sometimes. But, yeah, I mean, like, the matches on Grand Slam Dynamite, it felt like a mini pay-per-view yet again. And that's what makes AEW different. I always say this phrase all the time. AEW has their own identity. If it's highlighting potential pay-per-view matches on a episode of Dynamite or Collision or Rampage, hey, that is fine, because that's what sets them apart from any other company.
Yeah, exactly that. Let's just quickly follow up on Dynamite. There was a couple of bits on there we want to talk about. One was I mean, when we're talking about great matches, and you had the Young Bucks versus Ospreay and Fletcher, there was a bit there where Ospreay kind of got Fletcher away from using the screw. I mean, the match itself, I waxed lyrical about it enough on Thursday when I put the review out. I couldn't think of anything bad to say about that whole match itself. It was fantastic. But are we and then this is again, we talk about storylines, we talk about this. Are they planting the seeds? And this is again, AEW doesn't plant seed or doesn't do this. Well, yes, it is, because it's planting a seed right now of having potentially Fletcher turning on Osprey and maybe Mark Davis coming back and siding with Fletcher. That we're not see. But those seeds were already they were planted when Osprey first come in, done the favor for Don Callis and then left. Are we now sort of coming to the end of that now and we're getting to the point where something's going to give between those two?
You know, more I thought about it and more I thought that was going to happen actually on
Yeah,
Wednesday.
so did I.
Like, oh man, he's going to turn on Will. But it was a very good finish. And then even like after the screwdriver, honestly, I thought it was going to go right after Will. And I like this is again with the storyline. This is one thing that Tony has really done well on. Doing these slow builds to something that's gonna happen. Build that story. Give me a reason why, and that's exactly what he's doing. So if this does not happen, we are only a few months away from Grand Slam Australia. Like trios titles, maybe. You know, bring back the United Empire. Like, oh my gosh, I wouldn't know what to think. Um, I know Kyle's going to have a really good match for that show, no doubt. Tony loves his hometown crowds. So we shall see. I think Mark Davis will certainly be in the mix sooner rather than later. It feels like you want to talk about emphasis, Adam. Like Tony is really putting the emphasis on the tag team division.
Yeah.
And I remember I was one of those people that was just disagreeing with the direction. Like a couple months ago, like I don't want to see random teams together actually make it make sense. Saw a trio team that is officially back that I saw in Collision last night, LFI. With Beast Mortis, hello. So Tony is really doing everything perfect here. Let's say if Kyle does turn on Will, what is Will's attention every single time he's in the ring? He wants to have that talent to get a highlighted moment. Kyle is just one of those people that I really have been growing with. Dude is a stud. Like, you cannot ask for an amazing young talent like Kyle Fletcher.
Yeah, he's great. He's awesome, and it will happen. I'd love to see United Empire come back myself for sure. Last thing, Dynamite quickly. The main event was an absolute. See, you went from kind of the technical brilliance that Danielson and McGuinness put on. You then had the tag team, I don't know, showcase that the Bucks and Will and Fletcher put on, and then you just literally had the Raw main event, hard hitting, wrestling between Mox and Darby. Mox obviously winning. Darby shot Brian Danielson, I think it's at Wrestle Dream in a couple of weeks' time. But again, those two tore it down in that match, and I'm really intrigued to where Moxley's stuff is going now. I don't want to use the name reference, but I'm going to Shane McMahon in bringing him into a conversation quickly. Is this leading towards him coming in, or is it just a load of smoke and mirrors with it at the minute?
I'm going to be quite blunt here. Here comes the money. I'm not talking about TV rights and streaming deals. I think it's going to happen. Like I follow the Bucks almost everywhere, Twitter and mostly Instagram. I like seeing them on Instagram more than Twitter for reasons. And Swerve even commented on it, saying, "Wow, who's that boss?" And I'm like, "Yeah, they know." Now, would I agree with this decision if they bring in Shane? Honestly, any McMahon besides the ones that are controversial, not going to really go into that, are the ones that I actually appreciate. Like Linda McMahon, she's never stirred me wrong because she does stuff, whatever. But Shane, for what I've understood, like he's never done anything bad. I know McMahon's name, but listen, if they in fact go to Fox, I think so. I was saying this to Josh which again is the founder of Cruising the Kayfabe, I told him yesterday that I think Fox is not going to demand the viewers for the contract that they're going to possibly sign. I think what they want AEW to start doing is, okay, you need to increase this audience more. We want this company to succeed, but if you're going to agree with our terms, you really need to build this audience. Shane McMahon really, really would bring some audience into those seats, in my opinion, because I get it. We all know why Shane McMahon made his appearance buying WCW 2021 was obviously a fluke just because of the unfortunate demise of WCW at that time. When I was a kid, honestly, Adam, I thought that was legit. I was like, Shane McMahon, what? Like, obviously. Now I know. But man, that would be crazy. Like the internet would really explode. Like I'm a numbers guy. I'm a stickler with that. And when I saw the Young Bucks post that on their Twitter, and I was like, wow. And then Instagram had more reactions and comments more than any post that they've ever done.
Wow.
So, and I just, that's what a McMahon name really puts into your company. I think if it were to happen, it's just one of those things like we shall see. I think just Shane really wants to help, and if he's willing to help, I would be all for it. People are going to be like, "Oh, he's going to be in a match." No, that doesn't necessarily. He's going to be in a match. Maybe he's going to just do another stage dive. Who knows? Paul White would like to live that history back from 2000. Was it 2000? SummerSlam, I think, against Test.
Oh, something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So, but no, I don't know, dude. I feel 2025 could be a big splash for AEW. And if it brings in Shane, it's just, I think I keep skipping my words and just putting the pause on because I'm just like everybody else with a McMahon in there. But it's not bad as I think people think either. So we shall see.
We shall. We shall. Exciting times. And the one last thing about Dynamite, actually, I wanted to bring up was the debut on Dynamite of MVP. And seemingly, if you zoom in enough on his hand, you would see the Hurt Syndicate business card. Lashley to follow, maybe. We don't know. Trying to recruit Swerve Strickland into that as well. How excited are you for MVP? And let's just say argumentally, just for an argument's sake, Lashley coming in as well. What does that offer AEW? And would Swerve be a good addition to that, or is Swerve at a level now where he doesn't really need to go into that group just because he's already at the top of his game?
Well, I mean, I did post something about that yesterday. It was a graphic that I found, somebody putting Swerve into the group. At first, I'm thinking, well, that's pretty cool. But then I was thinking, no, that would be a little deflating because I don't want to see Prince Nana out of the picture.
Yeah.
Away from Swerve. So I think this is going to potentially lead to a feud. I did see, and I'm hopeful this is going to happen. Will Hobbs, I think he's going to be part of this group with MVP and potentially Lashley. I see Lashley going there ever since Lashley posted on Twitter, getting out of his car saying, "Oh, I moved to Dallas." Well, let's see, all in Texas. Okay. Now, who would Swerve get? I seriously think this would be the perfect opportunity to bring back. I'm very intrigued with this whole thing with MVP. Like he is a really, really good mouthpiece for a lot of people, and he would really help out with that with Hobbs. I this is one thing I love about AEW is just you never know what to expect. I did not see anything, rumor mills, nothing about MVP signing with AEW.
No,
Um, so that was a really nice touch.
it
But
was.
it's going to be fun.
It will be a fun ride, and we'll check out and see where that goes. Obviously, we'll be expecting more this week on the big anniversary special of Dynamite. Let's get into a bit more collision now. So, Jamie Hayter come back at All In, got a massive reception as she come in during the pre-show. Bit with Saraya. They had a Saraya rules match, which was pretty much everything can go Saraya's way, but nothing can go Jamie Hayter's way. I think he had to start with Saraya slapping Jamie Hayter. It was a really good match, a good way to get Jamie settled in. I was really surprised that Saraya, given her neck injuries, took that table spot that they done. But it's obviously testament to her re-signing as well for another year with AEW. That is a big, big, big thing as well. But great to have Hayter back, and it's good that what I do like about it is that it's good that Jamie is kind of not saying starting from the back because she was at the top when she got injured. But it's great at the starting with Saraya, so then it will go somewhere else next, and then somewhere else before she gets to the opportunity. But really good to have Jamie back. Good to see Saraya in the ring taking those kind of bumps, and once again, a testament to a division that AEW have that is tremendous.
Oh, absolutely, man. Like I posted this fact last night actually on the page. I like the fact that originally um, somebody did actually message me saying, "Hey, just letting you know, this was very neat because this was actually the third match, not the first." Um, that was very, very cool that
Yeah.
put the women's match on first. And
Yes.
again, it just shows the emphasis and the importance that this women's division has had all year. Keep that going, Tony.
Yeah.
uh, Jamie looked phenomenal, and so did Soraya and Harley. I thought Harley took a little bit of a spill with the table, but
Yes.
looked rough. But she got up from it. She looked like a rock star, like always. And um, I don't think this is going to hurt Soraya.
No.
The thing that it might hurt Soraya, but she wanted them signed a new deal if that was the case. So it was a fun match. It really was, and you know, again, it's just this is what makes AEW different, especially with their women, and Jamie Hayter sooner rather than later. I'm very hopeful she's the one that takes the title from Mercedes. Um, like that's who I hope for more than anybody else. Sans G came back, so
Can they fast track that by any chance?
oh, I
I'm not.
hope so.
I'm not Mercedes' biggest. I've never been since like since she was Sasha. I've never been her biggest fan, and I've been very vocal about that. Her,
Same.
yeah, I'm not a fan. But yes, more Jamie Hayter, more Saraya on our television. Please, more Hardy Cameron. Hardy Cameron is great just for the facials that she puts on during these, bits and bits. I love Harley. I think she's great. More of that. More of that. Another one that I've liked, and there was two teams out. I mean, there's two trios, and they went against each other this week on Collision. I like for two different reasons. One is the learning tree. Big Bill, Brian Keith, and Chris Jericho. Now I loved it. I love it because I was never made to love it. Like it was, I saw it, and I was like, oh no, here we go again, another Jericho thing. But it was great, and it was something that I didn't know I needed to love, but I ended up loving, and it's great. And then the conglomeration, who it's just absolutely every week. The one thing I do, no matter what, when I see these guys, is smile. And it's just, they just make me smile with whatever they do. They had a little fun six-man on this, the Learning Tree picking up the victory. But there's one man in particular from the Learning Tree. I do like Brian Keith, but there's one guy, Big Bill, in this equation. He's getting the big reactions. You can sense something's happening there. Is it do they take their time with this? Because obviously AEW and big men don't normally get along. It's been a prime thing. You've seen it. It doesn't work for some unknown reason. It just doesn't work. Is there something though here that they can do with Big Bill that could propel him to the upper echelons of the card and maybe, just maybe, a threat for a world title?
The thing with Big Bill, I like the fact that it's a real raw reaction
Yeah.
with the positive crowds with him lately. And thank you, UK, once again, because I don't think he would be getting the reactions right now. But yeah, I mean, that is one thing that I had scratched myself with as a big devoted AEW fan. Why are you not pushing the big men? It's weird to me sometimes. But granted, what they're doing right now with Big Bill, it's just, I think it's really balancing out to see if it's going to work. I think it's really going to work, no doubt. And I would be very happy with them. Maybe a TNT championship match in the future. Maybe, um, you know, maybe if he can find like a tag team partner or something, maybe a tag team title. I don't unfortunately see the world title. I don't ever see that, but I'm very happy for Big Bill. And regardless of what I say with Jericho saying, dude, just go away for a while. Jericho really does build stars.
Yes.
He really, really does a good job with that. And that's what he's doing with Big Bill.
Yeah, he is. He is.
So he's been in the business, since when did he make his debut in NXT?
Oh,
2016? I think.
Maybe earlier than that. I know there was that thing. They done that thing with Enzo, didn't they? And they were close to firing him because of Enzo, funnily enough. And then, yeah, shock horror on that one. And then I think it was actually Enzo that got into John Cena's good books, and it kind of went that way from there. But I think you're right. It was like 2014, 2015, something like that when he debuted. But he's never really had, even when they got called up to the main roster, it didn't last long. Enzo had the issue with an injury, and then it just petered out. And then they tried to heel roll with him. They had a turn on Enzo. Didn't really. Enzo then got fired. Shock. And then that was really it. And then in AEW he's had this. He's been there, and he's now in something, and it's getting a reaction. So whatever he's doing, when it was over here in Cardiff, they couldn't get enough of him. They were literally all over Big Bill. But it is definitely, you're right, and it's a conundrum with the big guys, and I do agree that I hope that AEW at least puts him in a picture where he can have some form of title reign. But we moved from one big guy though to another, and that was Big Bad Brody Lee, and he is Brody King, sorry, Brody Lee, sorry, Brody King, Big Bad Brody King, who I just can't get enough of this guy, because this is he's another one that he's in that team at the moment, the House of Black, where they got three unbelievably talented guys. Buddy Matthews, Malachi, and Brody King. He had a match with Action Andretti, and then after that match, obviously Lance Archer, another big guy, someone that we've had the privilege of speaking to, and the Righteous. They attacked Top Flight and Leo Rush, and obviously they come out to help Andretti. But Brody Lee, Brody Lee, I keep saying Brody Lee. Brody King, he's on my mind. He's in the
That's right. I made some blunders beginning of the show too.
Yeah, he's on my mind. I don't know why. I tell you why. I was talking about the Wyatt family earlier on. That would be there we go. Either way. But Brody King, I mean, gosh, is there nothing that guy can't do?
Oh man, yeah, for a big dude, he really can go.
Yeah.
No doubt. I was really enjoying that match because damn. But all I'm going to say is, when you grab a water bottle, don't throw that at that man, or especially in a dark alley. Like that was really, really funny, to say the least. But yeah, I mean, damn, he's just, from what I understand, even outside of the ring, he is a very, very nice guy, from what I've heard.
Yeah.
Shout out to the women that present themselves for amazing episodes. The All Elite Women's Sports Circle. One of those panelists on there, Rhonda, she's met Brody.
Yeah.
I think it was like a year ago, and she said that he is the most warmest guy to meet. So hey, you may be all loaded up with tattoos and you may have a beard. Yes, like me. We're not all bad people. We're really soft and mushy. So, but yeah, just what a really fun match. Brody King, man, he's something special.
Yeah, he is. He really is. And I loved him, and I think when I saw it in the Continental Classic was the where I really got to see him last year, and I want to touch on the Continental Classic in a bit actually, because he was a standout for in that, and I really enjoyed his match, and I think that opened my eyes to what he can actually do as a single, and we'll get as I say, we'll get into more of the Continental Classic in a bit. I want to talk briefly about Okada. Him and Guevara had a good match this week. Okada sort of it was an eliminator, so he didn't win. Guevara didn't get an opportunity to go for the Continental Championship. With Okada, I feel as if it's been not that he's been hindered, but I feel as like a big feud has kind of been hindered because of the injury to Kenny Omega. I think with the Kenny Omega situation, I think that's where AEW were kind of going towards, and we'll hopefully get that. Maybe even in the maybe even Kenny may even get an appearance in the Continental Classic. We'll have to see. But Okada for me, he's been one of like the not say the understars for me, but like again, it's just what he does. And I remember when he was pressing the buttons and the music didn't start, and he was like, "Bitch," and it's just the little things. And I think it's because obviously as well because he's Japanese as well. When he was like, "I'm so sorry," everyone just finds it hilarious, and I find it hilarious. But he can also back it up in the ring with some great action, and he did it with Guevara. Is it a time where are AEW just playing the waiting game with Okada until Omega's back, or do you think he'll be in like I wouldn't say a meaningful feud because that's not the right word, but a solid feud, a longevity, maybe like a trio's load of matches with somebody, or are they waiting for Kenny to come back?
It's funny that you're bringing this up with Okada. I was actually messaging a good friend of mine prior to coming on here, and we were talking about this with Okada and Sammy with that match. First, I want to touch up on that. People can say whatever they want about Sammy. He is such a gifted talent.
Yeah.
That match was one of my favorite matches. Um, but as for Okada, yeah, I mean, this is one thing. Like, I love how they brought him in. Young Bucks said it best. They brought him in just because they felt like it was the right move for the company, for sure. I mean, it's Okada. The other thing that they mentioned that will be always on my mind when I think of Okada is you have to give him some personality.
Yeah.
And when you give him a personality, for people that say, well, I don't watch New Japan, so I don't know nothing about this person. Well, now that you know Okada has a good sense of humor, you can back that up in an amazing match. I think we got to remember this. The C2 is coming up here soon.
Yes.
And the champion has to participate in that tournament. So I think they can build some really good series of matches, and whoever that's going to be. And then obviously his match will be at World's End. Hard to believe December's not far off.
Yeah.
And who is that going to be? I don't know, but I don't think it's going to be Kenny now that what New Japan released. So I would like for it to be Kenny personally because the storyline really is there. But if it's not going to be Kenny, I guess I'm going to retort it back to you there, sir. Who would you like to see take the title from Okada and build his next feud with? Because I would actually like it to be Takeshita more than anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, the tease is there. I'm hoping that is what happens if it's not going to be Kenny.
Yeah, I agree with Takeshita. Yeah, I think that was the one where, as you say, the seeds have been planted. It's been going on, but the Continental Classic for me last year was the best, however many weeks it was of wrestling, 6 to 8 weeks, whatever it was, of pure wrestling. You knew you were going to get these 20-minute matches that were going to be off the chain with the guys and the guys in there. Hopefully, we get a women's C2 at some point as well. I'd like that maybe to split it up to have the men's maybe at the end of the year and the women's maybe start the year. Maybe I don't know. TK, it's up to you. I'm trying to get in there. That's your choice, and I'm sure we'll see it. Yeah, Takeshita, if he's not the champion by then, perhaps even Osprey. But I do. My only thing with putting Osprey is I do think there is such thing as hyping up someone up too quickly and then there's a big fall. And I don't think there will be with Will, but I just think there's a mindful ability of let's not overuse him straight away in championships. Let's
Mhm.
get to let him have this run, maybe have that trios. As you say, perfect time, Grand Slam in Australia to put the trios on the United Empire, mate. At that point, I think that would be great. And I do, he will be world champion at some point, but I would like that a little bit of time when he's not in that contention, when he's doing maybe things like the trios bits as well. So I agree with Takeshita, an outsider, because there's always one, the Continental Classic has always had a few names that you're like, oh, how are they in it? And what, and they brung to the call some amazing wrestling. And I'm just trying to think, there's so many names you could reel off that, I think Yuta was in it last year. I mean, Wheeler was in it last year, and he was, again, really, really good. So it's like Darby Allen, for example, could be in there, and you're going to get it, what you're going to get with him. But it's like, I don't know, but I think Takeshita is the one that I would definitely put the money on. That's the money match, and I think at the end of the year, World's End, the money match is Takeshita Okada. So that's what I go for. I agree with you on that one.
And
But
I just thought of this as well, man. Is technically Kenny's the one that brought Takeshita in.
he is.
So I'm telling you, the story's there. So
There
that would
is.
make perfect sense. And you want to talk about the women being part of SC2? I just thought of this. You know what? When I don't see my Statlander for a couple weeks, I'm gonna go crazy. I made a post about her yesterday before Collision saying what would be next when she returns. She returned last night, and
She
it
did.
sounded like she wants to work from the ground up for a
Yeah.
title. And maybe that was a tease that we are going to get a C2 with the women as well. And
Yeah.
mm, man, they have so many good talent when it comes to the women's division as well.
Yeah.
So we shall see, man.
We shall see. Exciting again, and like I keep saying, exciting times ahead. Jack Perry, TNT title match, open challenge. I love Suzuki. I think he's tremendous. It was a count out finish, but it was a really strong count out finish. You don't always get them, but this was a real strong one. Obviously, Shibata comes down at the end of the match. They shook hands, him and Suzuki. Is Shibata the one to take the title off of Jack Perry, or is there something else? And when? Because Jack Perry, a lot of people thought Darby Allin was going to beat him all in. It didn't turn out to be the case. Who does and when take that title off of Jack Perry?
Mm, that's a really tough one. Um, I did like the open challenge. Yeah, I
Yeah.
got spoiled, unfortunately, but that's
Yeah.
okay. It didn't take away from the match. Um, hmm, who could it be? I'm literally looking around my action figures. Maybe I can get I mean, hey, you know what? We were just talking about him. You want to make him happy. Put him in the ring finally. Ricky Starks. Um, you
Yeah.
know, do something with him. That has a good possibility, has a chance of being a really, really good feud.
Yeah.
So, man, I would have to come back to you on that. I'm not too sure.
You can come back next week. Don't worry. You're going to be here weekly now, so you can do that. There was an interesting one. They done a trios match with the Blackpool Combat Club against Commander Private Pie, but there was a lot of hesitancy with Wheeler, Yuta here, because all this stuff with Danielson. Do we see Yuta get kicked out? And I'm going to go out on a limb and maybe say, not say something controversial, but a bit of fantasy booking here. After obviously they had their match on Dynamite, is there an opening perhaps in the Blackpool Combat Club for them to get rid of Wheeler Yuta and input Darby Allen into that mix?
Funny that you said that. I made a prediction with something that Darby would turn heel. I think it would be perfect, honestly. Like, I know people are so used to seeing Darby be a babyface for the last 5 years, but there's something that you need to do a little different with Darby more than just doing hardcore matches or and doing dives on some like glass like shields like over a 30-40 foot ladder. I want to see something different with Darby. Just like I want to see something a little different with Wheeler Yuta. I think Yuta would be perfect alongside with Brian. And just something screams that a heel Darby Allin would be perfect, man. Like, oh gosh, like that would really make me happy. When I posted that on my socials, people didn't like the thought of that, but there were some people that did. Um, yeah, I got the feeling that Wheeler is going to be kicked out. Now, let's say if it's not going to be replaced with, you know, Darby, who could that be? Maybe Nigel. You know, that would be a possibility there. But yeah, dude, honestly, I like the thought of that. Darby heel, but yet a very great up and comer. You know, I mean, yeah, I get it. He's been in AEW for the last few years as well with Wheeler and Yuta, but like when would you? Okay, so let's say if you were booking this, Adam, where would you make this happen?
Is it Revolution in November? Is that what it is? Full
No,
Gear? Full Gear?
okay.
Full Gear, my bad. Sorry, Full Gear. Yeah, I was getting confused about That's when I'll do it. Don't know how, but that's
Returning, I like that.
wheels. Yeah, there's literally the Full Gear wheels are turning. That's when I'll do it. How I'm not too sure yet, but I would have it maybe there was a lot where there's a lot of like indecision, and then perhaps Wheeler kind of goes along with it, and then they just kick him out for the sake of it, like just because it had that indecision. Perhaps he does something in the Danielson match as well, because Danielson's got Moxley in a couple of weeks, and then we go to Full Gear after that. So maybe then. And then Darby, and then Darby comes back. Maybe not comes back, but he comes out maybe looking as if he's going to side with Yuta, and then smashes him with a skateboard or something along those lines. And then we go off to the races with Darby and the Blackpool Combat Club. Maybe even I don't know if he'll have all of his face paint. Maybe he will remove it. I don't know or keep it. I don't know the significance of the face paint if there is a significance behind it. So perhaps Darby loses that. I don't know, but yeah, Full Gear would be my bet. I think World's End's too far out. 3 months, I just think it'd be when we always say, oh, there's long-term booking, but I think there's sometimes can be a story can go on for too long without something. Whereas where the devil thing happened, it was great because you had these little things where Adam Cole and MJF were friends, and stuff was going on, and there was enough. I don't think there's enough leverage in the Wheeler Derby happening that would last 3 months to get us to World's End. So I would say a month, 2 months now, or yeah, near enough 2 months to the day. That's when I would personally do it. But I'm open to see if what happens with that. But I just think I think Darby would be great in there, and I think a heel turn for Darby's needed now. He's got to that stage for me where I love Darby. I think he's great, but I want to see him flip that switch and be the heel and see how he gets on. So that's my pick would be then. Now, at the start of the show, you did mention a new faction or a new version of a faction debuting or a trio, that being LFI. This time, Dralistico and the Beast Mortos have sided now with Roosh. I know Dave, our other AEW guy, loves Roosh. So these recreated LFI hologram, I love, by the way. We're not going to talk much about hologram this week. We will get more hologram loving in another week because I think he's great. And again, when I first saw him, I was like, "What is this?" And then when he got in the ring, I was like, "Wow, okay, you've won me over in your first match." LFI though, where's their first feud gonna go? So obviously they attacked Hologram this week. Hologram isn't a part of a faction as such. Where do they go from here with LFI now?
House of Black.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, get right into it with the House of Black. Like, I think they're going to really feature LFI on Collision a lot more than Dynamite. And again, this is what I like when you got two-hour shows on the week. If it's not going to be the House of Black, I really don't know. I'm telling you, dude, this is a faction that I feel the reason why it was created to release some of the tension with what's going on with Lucha Bros. So when you have to counter with some great Mexican talent, when you have Roche, Beast Mortis, and Dralistico, like that is fire. Just that is money, right? or in the words of Beast Mortis, if anybody has not seen AEW yet this morning, please do so. So rawr, we're gonna enjoy this. It's just it's really intriguing, man. I'm just curious to see how they get built. I'm hoping it's not just okay. Well, here they are for like a few weeks and then they're not seen. I don't think they're going to do that here. I hope not. You want to talk about the C2? Roosh was part of that last year, so this is when he was featured very, very well around this time last year. So 1 year later, what a difference for potentially one of the most dangerous trio teams that you could possibly have. So I'm very excited for this.
Me too. Me too. Looking forward to seeing where that goes. We did have a fashion show, got interrupted by Daddy Ass, Caster's jacket, and all of that. We'll talk about that another time. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Your hands were doing exactly what they were doing. But let's get to the main event of Collision. Lumberjack strap match. Hangman Page, Jeff Jarrett. For all the silliness that we had before, and maybe that was a reason for it. So maybe that was reason why they put it where they did, because when you've got the seriousness of this strap match and Jeff Jarrett and Hangman Page's feud has been going on a while, to have that bit of silliness before the seriousness, I didn't mind it. But this match is something. Jeff Jarrett is, I don't think he ages. I don't know what age cream he uses, but I think I need it. But they had the Dark Order out there. You had the Bang Bang Gang. You had Lethal and Satnam Singh, and the Bang Bang Gang bit was a bit more into that as we get going because of the what's going on this week on Dynamite. But Hangman Page, this, I don't know, you call him new gimmick or what, this evil hangman, or you want to burning guys. I mean, he committed arson and murder in a space of a week and didn't get arrested, if near enough. So now he's whipping somebody in this strap match. He did beat Jeff Jarrett, which wasn't a particular surprise, I don't think, given the circumstances. Um, I don't know, like Hangman, is he in the C2 this year? Is that somewhere where we could put I know we could list off like 20 talents that could be in this C2. But where does Hangman go? Swerve's maybe, we don't know, maybe Swerve's gonna be back sooner rather than later, but his mind's gonna be occupied over here. We know this week Hangman takes on Juice Robinson of the Bang Bang Gang on Dynamite. Are they planting the seeds for perhaps a Jay White Hangman feud coming up?
Yes, that's exactly what they did here. My gosh, you want to talk about reliving history with New Japan? Wow. Like Jay White and Adam Page it really has an amazing amount of potential. I have been saying this for quite some time now, that people that love Jay White, that follow me on my follow the revolution, that they want to see something different with Jay White. You need to do something really important with him when he comes back. Not put him in, trios matches. Don't put him in this match just because, whatever. But yes, I don't know when it's going to happen. Maybe as soon as next Wednesday, because Juice Robinson and Adam Page going on for the 5th year anniversary episode. So I think the story writes itself right there. With Jay White and Adam Page, that might. Now, here's what I would do. Let's say if that actually does happen, where Jay White comes back, confronts Adam Page, I would not have that happen at Wrestle Dream. I think you need to build that story. So Full Gear will be their first match. But I'm crossing my fingers that Adam Page doesn't burn another house or Switchblade grabbing his. Yeah, I really can't say it on here. I was gonna say his Sharpie blade.
Yes,
Switchblade. There we go. So I don't know, but the possibility of that happening. Listen, Adam, if you want me to pay you, I can send you a Venmo or whatever you guys use in the UK. I will do that. Because it's taking my money with the thought of that. So it is going to be a hell of a feud if that does happen. The writing, it's really right there.
Yeah, it is. It is right there. It's going to be an exciting time. And you say a Dynamite 5th year anniversary. Hey, who'd have thought it? Dynamite 5 years. I mean, this week, yeah, that AEW celebrates 5 years since the first episode. So congratulations to AEW. We'll look forward to talking about that next week by certain. But obviously, why don't you tell the world, as you're our new AEW co-host, what is going on the your Follow the Revolution channel. And I know you got some exciting projects coming up. Some you can say, some you can't. Just tell the world what's going on and how they can interact with you on socials.
Yeah, so for any passionate AEW fan, if you want to interact with us, you can certainly find me on FTR Follow the Revolution. You can find me on Twitter, TikTok, or Facebook. Those are the big three right now that I'm having. Even on YouTube, you can support the women. Next month on October, it's sounding like October 19th, for the very latest episode of the Women's Court Circle with Marissa, Rhonda, Vicky, and then, of course, Kim. And then the one thing that I'm not afraid of just coming out and saying how excited I am. I officially, finally heard back from the All Elite Media that I do have an upcoming interview with the man himself, Sir Tony Khan. We did officially, well, it's not official just yet for the date, but they gave me 3 dates to submit. And unfortunately, it's not going to be live. It's just something that they do, I guess, which is fine. Yeah. Adam, you might actually have to help me out with the Zoom thing. So they actually prefer Zoom and oh crap, what was it? I don't remember, but they don't allow StreamYard, which is weird.
Fair. Gotcha.
So it's fine.
I'll help out. Don't worry.
I'm very excited for that one, man.
Hey, who wouldn't be?
It's just wild.
I will say this: it's testament to the work that you do, and I think it goes unnoticed. Not that it goes unnoticed, but obviously we're both content creators. We both do that same thing, and it's great when we get, the holy grail for you is going to Tony. He's getting that interview. That is like, Matt, huge thing, and it's the work that you've put in, and you do get, as you say, and you're quite open about it. You get a lot of, I'm going to use the word, you get a lot of shit from people that really unnecessary. But the fact of the matter is, and I think you use it, you rise above it, and I think that's one of your mottos on your thing, that you rise above it, and the work that you do, the effort that you put in, and for all the hours that you commit to doing it. Obviously, we thank you for that. But now you get that reward that you thoroughly deserve, which is 15, 20 mil, however long you're going to get with the man himself. And I want to congratulate you personally, because I'm working towards that with promotions and stuff. So I'm kind of behind the journey. I'm about 2 years behind. I think you're doing this 4 or 5 years or whatever. So I'm about 2 years in, and I've been fortunate enough to, have some of the great interviews that I've been. But yeah, the holy grail for me is exactly where you are now, and I can only envisage the excitement and maybe a little bit of nervousness. I don't know. You know who you're going. But yeah, but you're going in there. But it is that testament to that hard work, your commitment to the page, your love for AEW. I can't think of anyone that I know, that I personally know from a content creator perspective, that deserves it more than you. And I cannot wait for the interview. I'm so looking forward to it. But really, honestly, without, God strike me down, I'm proud of you, and I can't wait. And you thoroughly deserve what you're going to get in it when you have that interview with TK.
Dude, I very much appreciate it. And it's like, some people do message me saying, how do you do this? And like, I want to say somebody messaged me those words. It was like a month ago. And obviously I was like, I don't know what you mean. Can you elaborate a little bit more? And the gentleman was like, how do you do this? Like, you're so positive, and you just stay, very great for us. And I very much appreciate it. I'm like, takes a lot of work, takes a lot of backbone. You got to show your initiative. You got to really got to show your stride. because I see a lot of people on other, pages that allow snarky feedback. Sure, I may create a creations, with their comment, but guess what? It sure it's engagement. It's an engagement thing, but I rather remove all the hatred out there. And I think a lot of my followers see that. The amount of feedback that I get is just out of this world. So knowing that I got this interview with Tony, I actually waited, like, just begged. And, well, I didn't really beg, but I've been fighting this for over a year since I did the request for the first All In. And then I sent out 2 more emails this year, the second and the third quarter of this year, trying to give them the little itch still. Like, it's not really a demand. It's just something that I really, really, again, this is where you got to push for being a content creator. It's like heading the Turnbuckle podcast, the fact that you guys get your stuff, acknowledged on Fightful with the Alexander Hammerstone thing. Dude, this is not about me now. This is about you, Adam Cousins. That is so great, man. I have not missed anything with whether that's an interview with an Hammerstone or the upcoming Eric Bischoff one. I never miss anything that you guys have been posting for over a year. And your excellence that you're having, it's really great, man. And I couldn't be more proud of you either.
Thank you. I appreciate that. As you say, it's a tough gig, but we get there in the end. And the one for Tony Khan for you is going to be great. I just need to reel off a few things quite quickly before we leave the show. Sure. Interview wise this week, you're right. So we've got NWA talent, Psycho Boy Fodder coming up this week. We're in the recording studio Friday with a good friend of mine, Jesse from the Ringside Renaissance podcast. Is in there as well. But we've got Ringside Renaissance podcast, Jesse. We're going to be having a show called Ask Vince Anything, and we're not McMahon, Russo.
Oh.
Vince Russo in the books, number 2, second time we've had Russo on the show. We're sitting down with him this week. We're not going to mention Jim Cornette because for a lot of reasons. The main reason beyond it is that it's gone beyond and out of the ring and into something ridiculous that's, and that's not what really we're about. But we are going to ask Vince some questions about things. I've got a list. I'm sure Jesse's got a list. So we're going to ask him a few questions about that. And then, of course, like you say, Eric Bischoff, part 3. Now, the thing that won, I put 2 things out. I put, do you want to have a podcast on AEW versus WCW, which we know would have been one-sided anyway, for Eric Bischoff, or would you want a full insight into WCW? And surprisingly, the full insight to WCW won. So we're going to have an interview with Bischoff. And I'm going to try and make it a bit different. I'm not going to ask the same old questions that you hear or that you have heard over the years. I'm going to try and make it a little bit different. So hopefully it's a little bit different anyway. And then finally, another interview we got later on down the line is former Divas champion Layla L will be coming on the show as well. There'll be a few more in between now, I'm sure. That's the ones I can say at the minute. But it's been, it's going to be a busy month and we're looking forward to it. But Gary, as always, thank you for your time in America. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Mine's just coming to an end over here. Yours is just getting into the afternoon. So enjoy that. We'll do this next week again, next Sunday for sure. We'll come and talk some more AEW. But everybody, this has been the AEW. I'm going to call it overview because that's what it was now on the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. With Mr. FTR himself, Gary Joe, with me, Adam Cousins. Until next time, everybody, stay elite, everyone. Goodbye.